And welcome into the Gabe Swartz Show here on KC Sports Tonight at KCTV5. I'm Jared Koller on this Thursday that feels kind of like a Friday because it's the final Chiefs practice of the week before Saturday's game against Houston. And the headline of the day, Gabe, is that Patrick Mahomes, once again full practice participant, and he is not on the injury report, no injury designation, which means, is he 100%? No, but he's about as 100% as you can be for coming off an injury. It doesn't sound like he's going to be really limited on Saturday. Obviously, we'll have to see, but this is about as good a news as Chiefs fans could have hoped for.
Yeah.
I think part of the conversation of, should you rest him if he's not 100%, kind of irrelevant now. It sounds like he's pretty much good to go.
Yeah, I think at this point, we just operate under the assumption that Gumby Mahomes is going to be out there. He's got some incredible ankle ligaments, I guess, and just the ability to bounce back. And as we discussed on Monday, it felt like good news that the ankle injury was something that he had dealt with before, and that the Chiefs knew how to approach or have dealt with multiple times, and have had chances to figure out the treatment plan and the best plan of recovery that's going to make him feel as good as he possibly can. I don't necessarily recall what the level of concern was surrounding the high ankle sprain he suffered in 2019 against Jacksonville in week 1. I know that he didn't miss any time.
Right.
I don't remember what the day-to-day worry was because I was living in Arizona at the time and going to school.
Forks up?
Yes. But I do recall how absurdly worried people were about the injury 2 playoffs ago. And this one didn't feel nearly the same level of concern, partially, I guess, because of the stakes to the game and partially because of the fact that they said that he was going to be able to come back into the Browns game if it was needed.
Yeah, he said that. I don't know.
Andy Reid said there was no reason to do so, but
I
basically
don't know.
said he could have.
Yeah, I don't know how much you're reading that because also there's a chance he comes back in, doesn't do a whole lot, and and that doesn't necessarily mean much. I think that showed it wasn't. To me, that showed that this won't impact the playoffs at all. But that didn't tell me that he could play, in 6 days or so. But I think it's actually a good sign that he's not just obviously it's a good sign that he's not hurt more, but I think if he was a game time decision or limited in practice, if he was anything less than this, I think the Chiefs would have a really interesting decision on their hands as what to do with going with Carson Wentz against the Texans in the middle of this stretch. Do you try to do it there and then someone else for Pitt? But I think the correct answer is, okay, if Mahomes feels 100%, he starts. And so I think that makes it easy. I think there's no second guessing, and they can just go out and see how he does playing on a less than 100% ankle, which he's won multiple Super Bowls on. So
I also think that given how well it has responded, I know that there's lots of worry about what the turnaround time looks like for Wednesday. I don't think that the Chiefs will practice much at all this coming week.
Probably just one.
Probably
on Monday.
Yeah, on a
walkthrough.
On a walkthrough on Monday. But and they'll still put out injury reports, and those would just be based on what they would estimate the team would do, just like they would for a Thursday game on the normal schedule. But if the Chiefs win on Saturday and you somehow get the Bills stubbing their toe and losing to the Patriots, at that point,
yes.
Do you play your starters a half in Pittsburgh? Because if you lock up the one,
right? If the Bills lose, which I'm not even considering as a possibility, then starters aren't playing in Pittsburgh. They may play half against Denver to not have a whole month off. But that would be incredible.
Believe in Drake May a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, listen. The Bills over their dynasty here of not actual dynasty.
AFC East dynasty.
Sure. Have some bad losses in their time. I don't think this would be it, but that'd be great. But the other thing that's exciting, Gabe, about today's news is pretty much confirmed that Hollywood Brown also going to play Saturday, and it sounds like he's like, it's not like, a game time decision, or we'll wait and see. Like, no, he's going to play, which means he's ready to roll. And I don't know. I'm keeping my expectations a little bit lower than a lot of people, I think. I think he could have a really big impact come playoff time, but I'm not necessarily expecting a heavy role early on. I see it similar to DeAndre Hopkins. Like, he came in his first game, he had 2 nice catches, had like 4 targets. Like, I think that's probably what I expect. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that I don't remember what the snap count was for Hopkins in that first Raiders game. I do think that what you could see is a souped up, like, when Hollywood Brown is on the field, things will be designed for him to do things. And there will be some generated touches that are manufactured for him specifically. And so even if he's on the field for 33% of the snaps, which that probably would be my guess, is that he plays like a third of the snaps.
Which would be a help.
Yeah, which would be helpful. Upgrade. But I think that he can have an impact in those snaps, and it would not surprise me at all if we come out of Saturday's game and Hollywood Brown had 2 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown.
Oh, and a touchdown. Okay.
I just think that the possibility of him hitting one deep ball or he gets manufactured a look in the red zone. I think either of those things are likely, and so that's where I think that's kind of what I'm expecting is one or the other. He either is they're getting him something on Saturday. He's not just going to run out there and do cardio. I would be shocked if that is the result.
I don't know if I'd be shocked if that's the result, but I would bet on a line that you said. I would be kind of surprised if he gets a touchdown. It kind of depends on how the game goes. You know, if they put up 30 points, then okay. But I think the interesting thing, Gabe, is what in your mind, what was the number one storyline of training camp?
Throwing the ball deep.
Yeah, the deep balls. And they not only have not done that because Hollywood Brown has been out, but they haven't done that because Patrick Mahomes hasn't been good at it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, will this, for whatever reason, like, now does it click because Hollywood Brown is back out there like it was in training camp? I don't know. I wouldn't even necessarily give Hollywood Brown the credit for that. It's because I think a lot of it's predicated on Patrick Mahomes. But I think not necessarily for this game, because as you said, he's not going to get that many snaps. I think over these final 3 regular season games, do we see a couple more deep ball completions to any combination of Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy? Obviously, also knowing that Rashee Rice also not there. That was the thing. In training camp, you know, you had all 3 of those guys. Now you at least have 2 out of 3. We'll see how much of a difference maker that makes, right?
I just think that because it's not a hamstring injury or an ankle injury or something along those lines, the fact that it's his shoulder and he's been cleared.
He's still fast.
He's still fast. And the only evidence that we have of Hollywood Brown on a football field with Patrick Mahomes is a 100% completion percentage on one. All I'm saying is there's evidence there that Patrick Mahomes is willing and able to throw the ball.
Throwing one route. Let's read into that. Just as Kingsley Suamataia was so good in the preseason that he only had like 15.
The difference there being that Hollywood Brown has 1,000-yard season in his career, and he's done it for 5 years, not
I agree,
3
but
years
if we're reading into the Chiefs preseason, they were like, yeah, Suamataia is so good we don't even need to even give him practice, which remains wild.
In hindsight, that's one of the crazier. Hindsight, that is one of the crazier
like
decisions.
8 in that Jacksonville game that you're talking about. He had like 8 snaps, and they're like, "Yep, he's good."
I think the crazier thing is that he didn't play in the final preseason.
Sure,
game. He was
the whole lot
wearing a t-shirt and shorts.
Yeah, they were like, "This is the left tackle of the future." And it's not even close, and he didn't make it to the end of the second game. One of the bigger misses, but it could end up working out all right, and I think that's a top storyline to follow. This weekend, Gabe, is how the left tackle play. Do you send Joe Tooney back out there? Do you give Wanya Morris a shot now that you don't have an edge like Myles Garrett up against you? Any reason that the Texans may provide trouble this Saturday?
Well, they might provide trouble because Will Anderson is really good, and because Daniil Hunter is having a great season and he's one of the top sack guys in the NFL.
Okay.
And the Texans are one of the top 5 teams in terms of rushing the quarterback and getting to the quarterback. So yes, it's not just a nobody. It's not nobody's lining up over there. I would think that the comments that circulated on social media this week from Tim Settle, who I've watched a lot of college football in my life, and I've watched a lot of college football recently. If you ask me what school Tim Settle went to school at, genuinely no clue. Genuinely, I still haven't even looked it up.
Oh, you don't know?
All I know is that Tim Settle went to was talking to the media this week in Houston and said that he doesn't make threats, he just makes promises, and that Mahomes better be active and make smart decisions, I believe is how he phrased it.
Virginia Tech in 2017.
Oh, so Nathan Brennan's probably a huge fan of him.
But I didn't realize how old I mean, he's been in the league since 2018.
Interesting. So I've not been super locked in on Tim Settle with the Texans. I think that there are others that are probably...
He has 5 sacks this year.
Clean. I would. I don't know what his pressures rate is and how much of it is him versus how much of it is him cleaning up work that Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter
here's where he got that attitude, Gabe. He spent 2 years with the Buffalo Bills, 2022, 2023.
So he's not,
and that corrupts your mind.
So he's not a huge fan of.
And I'm not a huge fan of him for even spending 2 years there. So
there's that. Yeah, I would just. Me and Marlia were discussing this a couple days ago. I just don't think that they're doing another 1 week test run at left tackle. I just don't think that Joe Thuney was just a plug and
especially with how well he did. I
for
know
the first half, yeah.
I know the numbers don't show that, but I thought he played well. I thought the line played well, and then they're like, "Oh, that was the most Mahomes has ever been pressured in his career." And I'm like, "What?" But it's all right. I agree. I think that's, once again, top storyline to follow. And then how good does the defense play against an offense that should be better than what they saw against the Browns? So should be a fun game. We'll have a Red Friday to talk about it as well tomorrow. Okay, Gabe, topic this time of year that was circulating to the masses on social, but also some Royals podcasts, is the Hall of Fame voting is open right now for the Kansas City Royals. It's open every offseason, every other offseason. Okay, so it's not an every year thing, and they don't induct a player every year like the Chiefs do. I believe they've only had 3 inductees since 2007 because, well, the Royals weren't very good haven't been that many deserving Hall of Fame players there for a while. This is where we're starting to get into eligible players that were on that 2015 team. So, for those that don't know, the class that Royals fans can vote on online, Royals.com, they're worth up to, they get 3 votes in the whole deal, so I don't know the percentage that the fans have, but they have a say. Excuse me. There's 9 players on the ballot, and Royals fans can vote up to 5, okay? Some of the new names are on your screen right there, in addition to a couple more. Carlos Beltran, Johnny Damon, Gerard Dyson, Kelvin Herrera, Yordano Ventura, Billy Butler, Wade Davis, Alex Gordon, Joakim Soria. Those are the 9 that are eligible. Some of them newcomers that have been eligible for a while, obviously, being Carlos Beltran, Johnny Damon, Joakim Soria, and then Yordano Ventura as well. Everyone else, a newcomer. I think it's Billy Butler's second or third. So your thoughts on those names, any opinions on any of that?
So are they allowed to be on the ballot multiple times?
Yes, they can be on the ballot up to 5 times.
So you don't have to feel bad if they miss out, so to speak, once or twice. Mm-hmm. You're the Royals historian much more than I am. I would say that Alex Gordon is a shoe-in at some point, whether it's this year or not.
It'll be that he's guaranteed, I would say.
Yeah. I think that Carlos Beltran, just because of the short-term elite production that he had, should be one. Yeah. I don't know if Royals fans necessarily are locked into feeling that way,
Mm-hmm.
or if there's so much apathy about that era of Royals baseball that once you present people with a buffet of options from the 2014-2015 era of Royals baseball, if nostalgia and the success of that run leads to people voting for the Alex Gordons, and like Wade Davis has to be, just because he was so dominant and so instrumental in the year specifically that they won the World Series.
So that's where I forgot to change topic. I think you can argue a lot of different ways in that how do you value a Hall of Fame induction, because are you judging 100% off of what did that player do, and like they should not be penalized for being on a bad team. Like Carlos Beltran was an incredible player for a period of time where the Royals weren't very good. Same with Johnny Damon. Whereas other guys had more of an impact to the franchise. Like, who had a greater impact on Royals' success? Carlos Beltran or Gerard Dyson? I think the answer is Gerard Dyson. Now, who's a better player? Carlos Beltran or Gerard Dyson? Dyson never, in his entire Royals career, was a starting outfielder. He was always the fourth outfielder, whereas Carlos Beltran was arguably the best player in the American League. And so that's where I think it's incredibly fascinating what Royals fans value. Beltran, in 2023, went up for the vote, got 57% of the vote. You need 75%. Year before that, he got 65%. So he's close, and that's where it's like, what would you same with, let's go Joakim Soria versus Calvin Herrera. Joakim Soria was a better reliever than Calvin Herrera. Okay, Soria was arguably the best closer in the game there for a little while. He was really good. Herrera was never at that level, but who was more instrumental in Royals' success? Calvin Herrera. So how would you evaluate that conundrum?
I don't think that you can penalize guys for not doing something that they didn't have a chance to. Yep. Like, if Gerard Dyson comes along 10 years earlier, he's not even remotely in the conversation of this. And so that is a little situational, whereas I think if you were afforded the opportunity and you were also incredible in the opportunity being winning baseball, and playoff moments, I think that's where, like in the NFL, you have somebody who would not typically be a Hall of Famer, their overwhelming playoff experience, like Julian Edelman. His regular season numbers are nothing special, but he was afforded the opportunity and took advantage of the opportunity of playing in so
it's the Frank
many.
Clark Chiefs Hall of Fame argument.
Exactly. Yes, that is the Frank Clark Chiefs Hall of Fame argument, and that's where I would say like Wade Davis fits that bill. Well, I don't think Gerard Dyson fits it. I don't think that Kelvin Herrera even fits it, because
Herrera has a little bit more long-term success than Davis because he started a little earlier and went a little longer. The interesting thing about Wade, so in that argument where you're talking about Wade Davis, like I don't think people realize how, like I think Wade Davis is a lot closer to the Frank Clark than, not that he wasn't good in the regular season, but Davis was only dominant for the Royals for 3 years basically. And
the peak was just so
exactly
high.
But like when you look at so if you go by wins above replacement by Baseball Reference WAR, Wade Davis has 6.6 WAR for his Royals career. Okay, do you know who has 6.4? And that ranks as the 41st greatest pitcher in Royals history. The player with only 0.2 lower than Wade Davis, Bruce Chen.
That's a cumulative.
Right, but so if you go starting pitcher, you got like Brad Keller has 9.2 wins above replacement, 26th all time, almost 3 whole wins above Wade Davis. Starting pitcher, it's easier to accumulate WAR.
Yes.
Here's another one though, 6.7, so barely above Wade Davis. Another reliever, Gabe, Scott Barlow. Scott Barlow, by WAR, was a more valuable regular season player than Wade Davis, okay?
In a lot of meaningless baseball, though.
Right, and that's what's so, like, is Scott Barlow a Royals Hall of Famer?
No.
But that's where it's like, it's such a unique conversation. My opinion, Wade Davis should be a first ballot Royals Hall of Famer because he was instrumental in HDH and Royals playoff teams. But when you go and, like, I think people write off, like, in their narratives, they think, oh, yeah, Wade Davis, but, like, Greg Holland, like, there was so Kelvin Herrera and Greg Holland are 20 and 21st with 11.3 wins above replacement and 10.6. Much better than Wade Davis. Like, I think people don't realize that until they go and look at the numbers. And I think that is part of the reason why Wade Davis should be in the Hall of Fame, because despite having those numbers, he still has this lore and this iconicness because of what he did in the postseason. I would just also use that to highlight, like, okay, because of Wade Davis, then Kelvin Herrera probably better than you think. Greg Holland probably better than you think. To a lot of Royals fans, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that for you to have a Hall of Fame career in the Royals franchise context, you have to be overwhelmingly impressive while playing on a bad team, which is what Beltran fits, and that's why we're so far removed from that career.
Yeah, that's why I think it's tough.
It's so hard to imagine that the people who are voting on this are going to reward Carlos Beltran for what he was, which was an incredible, incredible baseball player. Specifically, when he played for the Royals, he was near his.
He was Bobby Witt Jr. pretty much, like what we saw last year. Like just a little bit less, but like the style of player that he could run, he could field, he could hit for power, he could hit for average, and he was young. Like he did it all. Yeah,
and that's what made Bobby's season this year so impressive, is that in like every metric compared to Carlos Beltran, it was just like, this is the best thing in franchise history. Right. This is the best. This is better than George Brett.
When we look at WAR, Gabe, Carlos Beltran 7 years, which also he spent 7 years for the Royals. That's kind of impressive. His WAR 24.8. That's like that ranks pretty highly in Royals franchise history. So how would you? So out of the 9, so you see the 6 on your screen there, plus Joakim Soria, Carlos Beltran, Johnny Damon. You get 5. You don't have to use all 5.
I would use all 5.
Okay, so who are the 5?
I would go with Beltran, Gordon, Davis, Soria, Butler.
Interesting.
That would be.
So you'd put Billy Butler in there?
I think I would.
Okay. That one I wasn't expecting.
He had enough of the 2014 team, and then he also was the Royals All-Star for several years, right?
Only 1 year.
Only 1 year.
Yeah.
Wow, my memory did not serve me well.
Well,
there.
because it was at Kauffman Stadium.
So then there you go. So then if I was going to not use my 5th vote, he would be the one that I leave off. The others I don't feel too poorly about leaving off. I don't think that Johnny Damon's peak was high enough.
Johnny Damon was, he was a lot closer to Carlos Beltran than people realize. Like he had 17.3 WAR in less time. But I agree, and I also think Damon's the same case with Beltran. Like, how's it taking this long? Billy Butler, I think, is really close. Like, I think if he would have been on the 2015 team,
then he's a no-doubter. But Alex Gordon is.
Well, yeah, Alex Gordon, I think,
should
is
be
above everyone
95%. Like,
yeah, and Carlos Beltran has the 8th highest WAR in Royals history, and again, that goes like more than Lorenzo Cain, Mike Sweeney, David DeJesus was 13th, by the way. Wild. He's not a Royals Hall of Fame, but that's kind of the demarcation, is around like 18.5. So, but no Yordan Ventura for you then?
No, and I think that what he could have been is.
So that doesn't factor into your decision then?
No, it doesn't, because
okay.
Like, I understand how meaningful he was for the franchise and how much he meant to the Royals organization. I think that he would have been one of the better pitchers in Royals franchise history had the tragedy not occurred.
Yeah.
And that is what makes it so difficult. But I don't think the body of work of what what he produced is Royals Hall of Fame worthy.
So do you think the fact that Bo Jackson finally got inducted, which is an example of why Beltran and Damon are on this, like Bo Jackson got done with his playing career a long time ago. He got inducted last year. And that was the argument for Bo, is that his whole body of work wasn't great, but he was so important in that time, in a small period of time. Do you think that that makes it easier to or more of a case for Ventura? Or do you not agree that Bo should be like?
Well, I didn't think that Bo Jackson was a Royals Hall of Famer.
Okay,
so I'm not gonna like stand on a chair and pound the desk for it, but
okay, because I think that's a similar. But I'm okay because like how I look at Hall of Fames in general, Gabe, not just Royals, is like, can you tell the story of Major League Baseball with like when you tell the story of Major League Baseball? Doesn't include this player.
And that's where I would argue, if you're talking about the 2014 and 2015 Kansas City Royals, I think that how deeply you get into that story determines whether you get to the Kelvin Herrera and the Yordano Ventura and the
But I think both of those, Dyson not so much, but like I think they're pretty hot, like because the pitching is why they won.
But not the starting pitching.
Well, 2014, Yordano Ventura, not in 2015, but 14, Yordano Ventura took the ball in Game 6, like 2-0 in the World Series, elimination game through 7 shutout innings against the Giants. Like, I mean, the reason they got to 7 games was because of Yordano Ventura. So I think what he came up in the length, because he was really, his best 2 years were 13 and 14. I mean, does he pass Salvi, Gordo? Okay, like, no, but like, for me, he's right on that line that I'm fine if you don't vote it. But for me, I also, if you said, hey, part of it is voting what could have been or what should have been, I don't hate that. Like, I think that's similar in Bo. Like, hey, if Bo hadn't played football, he can't, just as we don't penalize Carlos Beltran for playing on bad teams, we penalize Yordano Ventura for tragically passing away. Like, it's tough. It's a tough I don't think he's going to get in because, as you said, he doesn't have the body of work. But I think it's an interesting case.
And what is how far removed do you have to be from retirement?
3 years. So the next round will be Eric Hosmer, Mike Moustakas, Lorenzo Cain, Greg Holland.
Yeah.